I know we're still in the second round of the 2023-2024 NBA playoffs, but the offseason is almost here, and that means players are going to be on the move. Today, let's talk about some players to watch out for in free agency and in trades. I've been around the NBA for a hot minute. I've been around long enough to know that I can understand that a lot of these guys I claim that could be on the move or talk about being on the move or talk about being in rumors could realistically be on the same team they are on now in the fall in the 2024-2025 NBA season. But this is the NBA. Player movement rumors is a thing that makes this league so beautiful. Let's get the free agents out of the way because, honestly, the 2024 NBA free agency class is pretty weak. The top free agents include LeBron James, Paul George, James Harden, Klay Thompson, Tobias Harris, Pascal Siakam, DeMar DeRozan, OG Anunoby, D'Angelo Russell, Buddy Hield, Nick Claxton, Malik Monk, and Isaiah Hartenstein. There are more guys on the list who could be key contributors to championship teams, but the list is shorter than most years. Before we discuss the free agents that I just listed and possible scenarios, let me just say free agency is not the same as it used to be. The top guys that like to re-sign now with their original organizations because they get more money, and if things don't go well, they can just request a trade at the January deadline or the December deadline for free agents. The other thing is, with the new CBA, a lot of elite teams now have to worry about paying these top guys, have to worry about paying role players top money because they are limited in what they can do with the addition of the new second apron. And this was added last offseason because of CJ McCollum. And it sucks, but a lot of these teams now are handicapped with what they can do. We're already seeing it with Phoenix. Okay, let's get into it. Paul George is my first free agent I'm going to bring up because obviously there are a ton of rumors already, and there's already a ton of talk about what he's talking about with the Clippers. Paul George and the Clippers have not agreed to any sort of deal so far because the Clippers have offered Paul reportedly less than the max, and Paul reportedly is only looking for the max right now. Paul George, this is going to be a little bit of a critique, has slowly declined the last few seasons since that run where he got the Clippers to the Western Conference Finals. But his injuries have piled up. His game has declined. He struggles to get past defenders now. He struggles at the rim. He struggles to get open with the ball in his hands. His passing IQ has always been bad, and you thought in 2021 it could get to around above average for a guy like him as a star, but it hasn't. It has slowly gotten worse. His IQ has slowly gotten worse. He gets in a lot of foul trouble. His rebounding's fallen off, and his defense is starting to show issues because he's been out of slump for most of this year. Defensively, he can still be a really good player, but he struggles a bit there now with him just getting out of slump and him losing focus in a lot of these games. However, critiques aside, he's still really good off ball. He's really, really good catch and shoot wise. And when he wants to be and when he's locked in, he's still one of the best on ball defenders in basketball. I think a team like Philly could look into him. I think there's already rumors there. They have a lot of resources this offseason. I think Orlando could definitely look into him. It's either him or Clay for Orlando, in my opinion. And honestly, my prediction now is still going to be he stays with the Clippers. The Clippers have gotten everything right in terms of getting what they want to set themselves up for success. Obviously, they have not been successful. Obviously, health has to come their way, but they get what they want. Then let's get into Georgia's teammate, James Harden. James Harden is still a really good playmaker. I think he showed he still has some scoring and getting to the rim capabilities in the Maverick series. Yes, he struggled in game 5 and 6. But the previous 4 games, he was the most consistent player for the Clippers. And I think in the right situation, and I think he'll stay in LA, I think Harden is still a really good player. I don't know if he necessarily gets the max he wanted and demanded to get out of Philly for, but he's going to get some money. He still deserves it. I don't think he leaves. And if he does leave, I don't know what team. I really couldn't give you a prediction for what team is going to look into getting his services because Harden definitely still has some sort of scoring drop off that I don't know if teams are going to pay for. And he is 34 years old. Okay, the other players sounded like I was critiquing a little too much, at least with Paul. But if anyone deserves a little bit of critique, it's Tobias Harris. I'm not going to go all in, but obviously he's not a max guy. He is not a playoff, relying on for a top 3 option. And I think Philly fans knew that and felt uncomfortable with that the second the ink touched the paper for his contract in 2019. Tobias is still a really good player, though. I obviously have heard the Detroit rumors, and I think everyone has, that they could be looking to giving him a max. He's a good defender. He's a good rebounder, good catch and shoot guy, and somewhat of a good shot creator still. But he's not a max guy. And I think he does end up in Detroit. They need some veteran help. Next up, DeMar DeRozan. And I think it's pretty clear that Chicago is terrified of a rebuild. So that's going to be my prediction for him. I'm just going to get that out of the way now. But I also want to say DeMar could have some other suitors. Philly has been somewhat of a rumor. And I'm going to say Philly a lot for these top guys because Philly has a max spot. Philly has 3 tradable first-round picks this year. The other thing, too, is there's not a lot of teams that are going to look at DeMar's services because DeMar is not a modern NBA offensive player. He's very good. He'd be very good in any other era. It's just very hard to match players around him. He's a good playmaker. He struggles to get to the rim now, but he's still good when he gets there. And he's a good shot creator, but he can't shoot from the 3, and he can't shoot a long ball to save a catch and shoot long ball to save his life. So it's harder to match around him, but you could see some team like Philly target him. Klay Thompson. This is a controversial one because everyone knows that Golden State's going to try to keep him. He won 4 rings with him, but Klay wants money. Klay still wants to prove something. You've seen it in his game. He literally tries shot creating now when he's never been a shot creator. And I don't know how much more he has in him. Defensively, he's not the old Klay he used to be. And offensively, he can't get to the rim. He chucks too many shots. He could go to a bad team, honestly. It could match what he's looking for. Orlando could try paying him. I'm not saying Orlando's bad, but Orlando does need shooting, and Klay does offer shooting. If Orlando can't get their guy in like Malik Monk or something, or Paul George, I think they go target Klay. If Klay wants to take a team-friendly deal, I think he stays in Golden State. I think there's a team that could ask him, hey, you want to be our like 6 man? And he's like, yeah, for sure. It just depends. I think Klay stays in Golden State, but I think Orlando's the other landing spot for him. All right, last free agent I'll touch up on because a lot of the other guys are role players that are going to sign with teams that you can't really predict. Like teams are going to come out of nowhere, like the Knicks with their signings the last few years. And Pascal Siakam's going to re-sign with the Pacers more likely than not. But with LeBron, no one knows. He won't say. People are going to predict, and I'm going to predict from what I've heard, what I've looked into, what the feeling is just from being a fan. He's going to sign another 2-year deal, more likely than not. 1+1. That's his favorite type of deal. It's always been his go-to deal. And his family loves LA. He loves LA. I think the Lakers promise him something, and he's like, okay, I'll sign one more, a 1+1, see where Bronny goes to. And if Bronny does go into the draft and they draft him, I'll just stay on and sign a max deal, be here for the rest of my career. All right, the main part of this video, trades. Who's getting traded? Who's getting put in rumors of trades? What situations do you have to look for potential trades? And obviously, right behind the trade graphic, Trey and DeJounte Murray. Both have been rumored to be in trade talks all season long. No one knows what direction Atlanta takes. DeJounte Murray was in huge rumors to the Lakers. Trae Young is also in rumors now to the Lakers. You're going to hear Trae Young rumors to maybe even like New York, which is a random one out of nowhere. You're going to see more Trae rumors to random teams. I think the thing is, I've seen a lot of Atlanta fans say, hey, I think we keep DeJounte. We don't really like Trae. We don't feel Trae that much anymore. We were loyal to him. We gave a lot to him, and it hasn't worked. And I've seen a lot of people argue against Trae and say he's a negative player. He's at the lowest value, for fans at least, than he's ever been. I could see Atlanta going in a direction where they just decide to build around DeJounte and get rid of Trae. I could also see him being loyal to Trae because Trae, if I say that name one more time, I'm going to shoot myself. He was their guy. They traded for him in a draft. He's been their guy. He took them to an Eastern Conference Finals in a year where they weren't expecting that. I could see them just feeling like we're done building around him too. We'll see. If DeJounte gets traded, more likely than not, it's going to be the Lakers or another team that's just desperate for something like that. Orlando could also look into getting Trae because they have a lot of defensive pieces, and they could move Suggs to the 2 because he is extremely good at defense. He's a good 3-and-D guy, and they could honestly just say make him a secondary playmaker to Trae, and I really would like that fit. I said I didn't know about Trae rumors and other team fits, but there are other rumors. There are other trade talks, and Brandon Ingram is at the center of them because more likely than not, this offseason, Brandon Ingram is getting traded. This is a claim I'm pretty confident about, solely because if you hear what David Griffin says, if you hear what the front office of the Pelicans, what they're saying after how their season ended. I think they're still going to build around Zion. I think they trade Brandon Ingram because he just doesn't fit that well. I know they're like, if you look statistically, they're very positive on the court together. It's just Brandon gets hurt. Brandon has not really progressed as a player. And what do you do when you keep losing like this? You trade your star guy. Well, you have another one. You have Zion, who you're hoping works out and who has proved to you when healthy, he can work out. Zion or Brandon Ingram has not. And I think CJ McCollum's awful. Like, I will be CJ McCollum's biggest hater forever. And I don't think he's a good starting point guard for them. But you reset. You look at Brandon Ingram and you get rid of him. And I love Brandon as a player. I love his game, but he just doesn't fit them anymore. And he hasn't really progressed. So you sort of have to look at Atlanta if you want to get rid of Brandon Ingram. Honestly, the Knicks, again, I'm going to throw the 76ers in there. I saw someone make a claim of Phoenix, which would be absolutely hilarious. Like, think of Kevin Durant, Brandon Ingram. Kevin always loves teams playing with guys that do ISO heavy offenses like him. He's done it in Brooklyn and he's doing it in Phoenix. So send Brandon to one of those teams. I don't think the Lakers call. I don't think the Clippers call. You could see Sacramento think of something there. They do like some forwards, but we'll see. So now I'll talk about the guys that are less likely to be traded. And McCall Bridges definitely could, depending on the team and him being their first option. He's not a first option in the NBA. I'm sorry. He's 27 years old and has shown he does have inconsistencies to his game. I could definitely see him being a third or fourth option on a championship team. He matches the, power forward type of build that these teams are starting to do. And that's a later video I'm going to do. If you want to check that out, stay and subscribe, like and subscribe. Yep. And McCall Bridges is a very, very good NBA player. One of the better defenders in the NBA if he doesn't have an offensive load. He's only taking a defensive decrease is because he's having more to do on offense. I think McCall could definitely go to a team like New Orleans for Brandon Ingram. You could see a team just give them 2 or 3 first-round picks like Houston. Houston was once interested. I don't know if Houston picks up the phone now because Brooklyn turned down a trade reportedly of 4 firsts and Jalen Green. I think that definitely hurt ties to Houston. I'd be angry if I was Houston. But yeah, also the New York Knicks. Yeah, I don't know if y'all know this, but the Knicks have a Villanova connection. Then there's Lauri Markkanen, and Utah's made it clear it's going to take a lot of picks. And Utah also might feel comfortable with just making them their shade for the Thunder. Speaking of the Thunder, they could be interested in Lauri. I've been connecting them. If you want to check out my TikTok, I've been connecting him to them since November. He obviously fits their last need, which is spot up 3-point shooting, little bit more shot creation, very good around the rim, and interior and perimeter defense just to add a little bit more to their defensive presence. He's also a really good rebounder, and that's their one major weakness. He's really good. The Thunder could be a fit. Miami's been in there. Sacramento, again, with their need for forwards. Atlanta's also a rumor I've seen. And yeah, he's obviously a guy a lot of teams could be interested in. It's just about the asking price. And Utah has always made the asking price big for him. It's Danny Ainge. He's obsessed with picks and never knowing what to do with them. Hey, surprise twist of the video, Jimmy Butler? Well, these rumors have been thrown around the last week as I'm recording this because Jimmy and the Heat have an extension to talk about this offseason. Pat Riley is hesitant to talk about it. Pat Riley also had a weird quote about Jimmy, but I think that's just speculation or people are looking too much into it. With Jimmy, though, he's older. He doesn't match a lot of the Heat timeline. They do not have someone near as good as Jimmy, and they're going to be in a weird spot if Jimmy leaves. When D Wade left in 2016, everyone's like, well, they have Deion Waiters, Hassan Whiteside, and they could make that work without him. But obviously we saw they definitely needed someone, and Jimmy came in and did a lot for this franchise and made them look a lot better front office wise than they really have been. They're great looking at depth. They're great at making undrafted free agents look good, but they haven't been great at keeping star talent and finding star talent. And Bam is pretty much the only other thing. And if Miami's going to have to if Miami's finding a way to make it work, they probably have to keep Jimmy. And best bet is if he leaves, it's Philly. Like, without a doubt, Philly. Philly admits their mistake and they go get him. I keep throwing Philly in here, but I think every Philly decision is going to revolve around that. Like, Philly will give up everything for Jimmy if they have to. Jimmy and Embiid have such a good relationship. For a while, it felt like Embiid might request a trade to Miami, and Jimmy he matched Philly's energy. Like, he's great in Miami. I love him in Miami, but if he was somewhere else, it's probably Philly. But yeah, for now, that's pretty much the only free agents and trade targets that are really worth talking about. We don't know what happens. We don't know if anyone else is going to randomly be traded. It's happened the last few years. Also, just let me know if someone else that y'all think of, someone else, some hot take. Let me know if y'all think my girlfriend's cheating on me. This is Son of a Sports. I'll catch y'all next time.